Hey everyone, back to you into today's video. We're going to do an 8 to 10 day update today, which will be taking us, can you believe, to the final day of October. The last day of the month will be day 10. So getting well on into the autumn now. There'll just be 1 month of autumn 2014 left by the time we get past today's 8 to 10 day update video. Before I get on with that, just want to say about the ads. There's links to articles sitting underneath a web video here on my homepage at gazwebvids.com. Have a browse through the widget, and if there's any articles that you're interested in, just click through. You'll be able to go off and read the articles when you finish at Gazwebvids, of course. At the same time, you'll be helping to support the website. Thanks so much for doing that. There's an ad unit down near the comment box, discuss comment box, so have a browse through those links, and if there's anything you're interested in, again, click through. And there's blue keyword ads on some of the pages at Gazwebvids.com. Right cursor over green keywords. They'll display ads when you click through words. You go to our website and you'll be able to support Gazwebvids by doing that as well. All these things are really paying for the website, so thanks so much for getting involved. And thanks for doing that. Now, earlier on this morning, I fell over and I've damaged my right wrist and arm and elbow. So, and I'm right-handed, so it makes it all a bit awkward to update the website. I'm going to be using my left hand with the mouse, and we'll see how I get on. But if things go a bit astray, just bear with me. So we're going to start off with the SOI for this video, the Southern Oscillation Index. It came out exceptionally negative yesterday on the 21st of October. Well, it's today really, but it was yesterday down in the southern hemisphere. So minus 24.88 was the number that we recorded yesterday. Today, that's very negative for the Southern Oscillation Index. More or less as negative as it can go, and if we post many days as negative as that, we're going to be really getting the El Nino going. That's the important point about the Southern Oscillation Index. When it goes negative, it's telling us that the atmosphere and the oceans are sort of coupling up to produce the warming along the equatorial Pacific, and those are the sort of numbers you need to see if you're going to get an El Nino. And actually over the last week or so, we have had some very negative numbers since around the 11th, 12th of October. That's when things started to go really negative, and yeah, I've been posting some very negative numbers over the last week to 10 days, but today, or yesterday, was the most negative it's been, minus 24.88. That is exceptionally negative, and if we get many more days like that, El Nino really will be setting in. So we'll be keeping an eye on that, because of course it is quite important for our fate for the coming winter. I've explained all about that in the winter update, so check those out if you want to know what the El Nino can mean for our winter. Now, the Central England temperature from Hadley is going up again. It was around average for most of the first half of October. As we've got into the second half of the month, though, it's picking back up again. Very mild air, of course, over the weekend. Very warm weekend for the time of year. So at the moment we're standing at 12.3, which is an anomaly of 1 degree above average. That's probably going to tick down a little bit over the next day or two, because it's turning quite a bit cooler with this area of low pressure that we've got today, but remains of ex-Hurricane Gonzalo. But overall, I think it's going to be staying pretty mild actually to the end of October. So we're going to, I think, get a Central England temperature coming out above average, albeit the anomaly probably not as great as it has been in many of the months through this year. But another warmer than average month for October 2014 does seem very likely, and we really are locking ourselves in now to the warmest year on record. We just need November and December to be coming out warmer than average, and that record for 2014 is going to fall. It'll be the warmest since records began in 1659 if we achieve that. Now, we're going to have a look at the 8 to 10 day 500 millibar flow charts next. We've got the ECMWF here on the left. The GFS is over on the right, 500 millibars, 18,000 feet. is an area in the atmosphere. I've got weather taking place. High pressure, low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream running above. Blue is extrapolating to low pressure. Orange is extrapolating to high pressure. So the ECMWF for the next 8 to 10 days shows that we've got an area of low pressure up to the north of the country, a ridge of high pressure sitting down to the south, and a strong or fairly strong westerly jet stream coming through across the Atlantic and into Europe, something like that. I'm using my left hand to draw that, so I think that's come out quite well. So that's the ECMWF showing that for 8-10 days time we're basically still keeping an Atlantic flow coming through the country. The GFS is very similar. The trough up to the north isn't quite as deep as it is on the ECMWF. The ridge is a bit closer down to the south as well, but overall it's a very similar setup, to be honest, with that westerly coming across the Atlantic on the jet stream and running into the British Isles and then pushing into northwestern parts of Europe. So it implies that to the end of October we're keeping Atlantic driven weather, going to say relatively unsettled, always most unsettled in the north and west, driest in the south-southeast, but not exclusively dry in the south and southeast, and of course with the winds coming in off the Atlantic it is going to be relatively mild. The GFS temperature ensembles and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks show this up quite nicely. The red line here is the 30-year temperature average. We're going to be going a bit below average, or quite a bit below average actually, quite substantially below average briefly for the next 24 hours, and then we're going to push the temperatures back up, and then overall we're staying around or above average there throughout the rest of the ensemble, although there is a bit of a dip taking place sometime towards the end of October maybe, although quite a bit of scatter even within that. But the general trend is sort of mild weather, average to above average temperatures, and the rainfall spikes are there, not as wet as it has been at some points through October, but still pretty unsettled really, no sign of anything particularly settled for a prolonged period of time. You could get to maybe 2-3 days of dry weather for some parts of southern England, but overall, yeah, the precipitation spikes are coming through at fairly regular intervals. I think quite interesting for this October that the second half of October is probably going to come out warmer than the first half of October. That's very unusual actually, because October is typically a month where it very rapidly cools down from the start of the month to the end of the month. There's a big temperature drop normally, so it's very unusual to get the second half of October warmer than the first half, but I think that's probably what we're looking at for this particular October. The temperature anomaly for the coming week, going from the 21st to the 29th of October, shows an east-west split across Europe. It's mild, above average for much of Western Europe, but look how cold it is to the east. The Russian winter has really set in there across central and western parts of Russia. I think there will be further snowfall, adding to the very rapid increase in snow cover across much of central and western Russia over the coming week. But out in the west, and it's the case for us as well, temperature anomalies are coming out above average. Going through to precipitation anomaly, we're around to maybe even a little bit below average generally in those white to red colours, so it's not going to be a desperately wet week. But we saw on the ensemble that we will be bringing precipitation through at fairly sort of regular intervals, albeit not a great deal of rain, not going to be huge amounts of rain coming through, but there will be bands of rain coming through, particularly from the north and west. So here's the generic chart from the GFS for Sunday. We've got low pressure around Iceland, high pressure ridging through southern and southwestern parts of Europe. So it's a very good reflection of what we saw on the height anomaly flow chart, really bringing in a westerly flow, most unsettled in the northwest, driest in the southeast. Very windy for Sunday across Scotland, so there could be gales up there. Going through to Monday, and it's same sort of setup, really, for low pressure to the north, high pressure to the south, bringing that westerly through. Will be weather fronts within that westerly, so it could be unsettled at times with bands of rain swinging through. Going through to a week away, for Tuesday the 28th of October, bringing a little bit of a ridge through there, maybe turning a bit cooler. That's when the GFS ensembles, we're seeing that slight dip in the temperature maybe coming towards the end of October, so it'll turn a little bit cooler around the middle of next week. But I don't think it'll last all that long, because the next area of low pressure will be gathering out in the Atlantic through the middle of next week, and by the end of next week we're back to square one, really. The next low pressure coming through, bringing another band of rain, quite windy up in the northwest again, with high pressure down to the south, keeping southern parts drier, not exclusively dry, but drier, always more unsettled up to the north and the northwest. The ECWF again, a low pressure around Iceland to start next week, high pressure through the south. There's a weather front here as well, producing outbreaks of rain, probably for the north and west of the country. Going through to a week's time, very similar. It's unsettled generally, with low pressure to the north, high pressure to the south, bringing that westerly through, and then getting through to day 10. Remember, the trough was a little bit deeper on the height anomaly chart with the ECWS, and here we go for Friday the 31st of October, Halloween. Bring quite a deep area of low pressure in across the country, so that would put a bit of a dampener on anybody wanting to go trick or treating, because there'd be a lot of heavy rain coming in with that low pressure. But the GFS is placing that further north, remember, so it may not be as unsettled as that, but generally it is an unsettled end to October. I think the flow is westerly. There will be bands of rain coming through. It's going to be relatively mild, but it could be quite windy at times. The GEM finally, very similar setup for a week's time. High pressure to the south, low pressure to the north, bringing that westerly in, and then going through to day 10. A little bit different here, because we're putting down a cold and northerly wind. The GEM, particularly in the 8 to 10 day time frame, is always a little bit different, so I would discount that, to be honest. But if it's right, that brings some quite cold air down from the north. Could be enough for frost at the end of October, and maybe some wintry showers. In the north, pressure is building out to west of the country. That would probably bring an area of high pressure in for the start of November, giving us a frosty spell of weather. But as I say, the GM is always a little bit different compared to the GFS and the ECWF when you get through to the 8 to 10 day time frame. And overall, I think we're looking at generally quite an unsettled final week to 10 days of October. The driest weather will be in the south and southeast, but not exclusively dry. The wettest weather will be in the north and west. It's going to be quite windy, particularly again in the north and the west. But on the plus side, if you like it mild anyway, is that the temperatures will be holding up quite well. So another warmer than average month in 2014 looks very probable now. Not going to be such a deviation as some of the months that we've had this year, but yeah, another warmer than average month. August is the only month so far this year that has come out colder than average, and October isn't going to change that. That's all for now. It's a 5-day forecast tomorrow, so come back for that. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching.